Hey guys, hello. Um, just wanted to make another video about human design again. On my last video, I posted a link for a 50-page free report that kind of does a deep dive into human design compared to all the other rest of the reports out there that I've seen. But I went ahead off that website and bought the detailed report that was available. The biggest report, I think it's like 77 pounds or close to $100 in USD. But I went ahead and bought that, and I have an Open Solar Plexus Center, and I thought the information I received on this was very life-changing for me. And so I wanted to share what was written on it. It's actually quite long, so bear with me. And I think it will be life-changing for you too. So for the Open Center on the solar plexus, it says you have an Open Solar Plexus Center. This means you will amplify the emotions and feelings generated by those around you who have this center fixed in their design. That's around 53% of the world's population has it fixed. Others with this center fixed will be moving in a sea of drama or melodrama, and to you it can seem like a lot of fuss over nothing. But the force of their emotions will affect you nonetheless. You can get caught up in their strong feelings, which can be both positive and negative, and you can have a propensity to make them personal and identify with them as your feelings. With practice, you can come to realize that your involvement with their feelings at any given time is a matter for your strategy and authority, and you are simply sampling their feelings rather than making them yours. Sometimes it will be correct for you to engage with emotionally defined people in their dramas, and sometimes not. If you don't engage with them when it is correct, then it is likely you will live your life on the defensive, fearing their volatile nature and the noise and commotion it can cause, and thereby miss out on the positive happiness, the pleasure, and the emotional sensitivity they can also bring to you. Your attempt to pacify the powerful negative emotions may exhaust you, and even if they repress the expression of some of their emotions due to your insistence, it will not help. Rather, it is likely that in the future, when they once more go down in their emotional wave, even greater misery will seek to be released. Instead, allow them to spill over into their drama, watch the fireworks, wait for them to run their course, and learn from the process of witnessing and feeling their emotions reflected within you. Don't take any of what they say as true. Don't take their scolding, irritation, and outburst personally. Such feelings are not the totality of what they feel for you. There is always another side that is sweeter and more loving. In expressing their negative feelings, those with a defined solar plexus are simply expressing the other side of the coin to their sweet and loving natures. If you can be open and non-reactive at such times, you will know the love that can heal all things, an inclusive love that accepts their journey into pain as much as it accepts their ability to bring pleasure and excitement to the lives of others. But this is easier said than done, as I'm sure open centers you all know. Certainly, you are vulnerable to being overwhelmed by the emotions that fly in your direction, both the negative and the positive. Their feelings will become amplified within your system, and the tendency to back down, run away, and hide from what can feel like a tirade of poisonous, destructive expressions and arrows with your name on them as the object of blame. Sorry for the noise in the background. Some reason my neighbor has decided he needed to do something outside right now. You may feel it's unfair, unloving, and not at all reasonable or in proportion to whatever the facts may actually be. Well, feelings and emotions are not reasonable, logical, or straightforward, but that's not the point. The emotional people feel real physical pain when they are down in their emotional wave, and they just feel the need to unburden themselves by expressing their feelings. In no way do I condone inappropriate behavior. So like everybody has a tendency to potentially project things. I even project things even with an emotional open center, and that's because I actually realized I'm either one, making up stories in my head that cause me to feel something, so I'm trying to get my own emotions involved and make myself feel things that's based off of my past. And that's what my splenic center is actually helping in. But also in this type of place, I can project the reflection back to somebody. So if I'm picking up something from someone else, that can trigger me because I'm still in a place of conditioning of fearing people's emotions or emotional outburst, which I'll go into further here. It makes way more sense. And which is actually not what these emotional people need. And this is one of the bigger lessons I'm learning is because I have this fear of that, I keep getting this lesson over and over in my life, and I'm actually surrounded by a lot of people who have a fixed emotional center. And I have to learn to acknowledge the reflection, acknowledge what I'm feeling inside. I can do it in a quiet level, or I can do it in a verbal level, as long as I acknowledge it. And it's easier to disconnect from and then know what to respond to or not to respond to it. Anyway, I continue on. Perhaps a part of them wants you to meet them in their outrage and merge with them in the drama of what they're feeling. This is an emotional way, can demonstrate that you care enough to engage with them in their pain, and by doing so, show your love to them. In their physical aura, you may begin to feel that you must release even stronger feelings when you receive their emotional impact. That's the projection, the outburst that you would have back. You may not have any control over your expression of their reflected feelings, and as a result, after an initial shrinking away, you can explode with the amplified emotions and actually become quite dangerous to yourself, them, and anything in the environment around you. The consequences can be disastrous, and regret is the common lasting result. The potential for you is compassion. To realize and accept that you cannot take away their pain, to understand that they have to ride their own wave, and that eventually it will rise up again in hope and happiness. Resist the temptation to try to rationalize their feelings and find an answer to their upset. The emotional center is not rational, and logical solutions will simply make them feel their confusion more by contrast. It will not help. And this is actually very empowering to let people figure things out on their own as they go through that wave, knowing they're going to be okay. There's nothing to fix. That's just true empathy. And that's actually one of the things I've learned about the open solar plexus is it can be very, people can consider maybe themselves as empaths, and in a way that's a bit disempowering because you're saying, I can't do anything about it. But really integrating this part of yourself that's here to reflect the emotions of another, that is true empathy. That's what true empathy talks about is the ability to reflect and be with another as they go through their pain. Doesn't mean you have to experience or take on their feelings or feel for them. That's not your job. You reflect it back to them. That is their healing process, is the reflection back to them to know that it's still acceptable, it's okay, and it's right that they feel that way, so they can actually feel that way and process their emotions and let go. That's a very beautiful process. That's what I think a lot of good therapists, good counselors can do, being in that place. It's also very empowering to look at people are going to be okay. They're okay. They're going to figure it out themselves. To continue on, think about two emotional beings coming together. One of them is terribly upset, tears are flowing, and their body is shaking with the force of what is running through them. What does the other emotional do? They let them speak. They let them cry. They may hug them and hold them in a way, in that way help them through it without saying much. They are in pain after all. Think what it's like for you when you are in pain. Do reasons help? Doesn't a kiss and a gentle hug at such times help you more? And when the emotions are more in the spectrum of anger, what makes someone more aware of their destructiveness? Is it not someone else shouting back at them, which makes the effect they are having on those around them more obvious? They can certainly create a lot of drama in their lives and yours, but that's part of what it means to be an emotional being. It can certainly bring color to everyone's life. What is commonly the case when an open solar plexus non-emotional person encounters an emotional in full expression is that they just run away. Yes, avoidance, fear. Run away, very uncomfortable. It is unfortunately common for the emotionals to feel the painful agony of abandonment when this happens, and they wonder if the love between the two of you has evaporated. So this running away could be literally physically leaving. It can be shrinking away inside, shutting down, your energy closes up. Even if you can stay focused and talk with the person, if your body is trying to protect itself during this process, then that's part of it. Staying open is what generates empathy, being seen, heard, felt, and understood. So your propensity to avoid emotional confrontation and to lie to the emotional people, either by skirting around the relevant issues or simply not telling the truth for fear of emotional explosions, is a self-defeating strategy. It destroys both trust and love eventually, and in the debris that is left after a relationship has failed are negative memories where both parties replay the worst times and assign blame to the other, while asserting the correctness of their own positions, all as a result of not understanding the different mechanics within us. If you persist in running away from negative emotions, you may gain weight in an unconscious attempt to protect yourself from feeling the intensity of the amplified emotions or suffer from water retention problems as emotional dilemmas remain unresolved. I think this is probably common for every person, whether it's open or fixed center. That from studies and other type of emotional spiritual aspects of different diseases and things, that seems to be a common thing when anybody represses any type of emotion, especially grief. It is not uncommon for those with an open solar plexus center to try to buy love with gifts and material symbols that are a poor substitute for really meeting the other deeply. There's a huge gap between showing your love in such a way and actually loving the other by accepting them in all their manifestations, both ugly and beautiful, both distraught, miserable, and touchy and sexy, happy, sensitive, and hopeful. It is often the case that non-emotional people can idolize the emotional people if they are the opposite sex. They can hold them at a distance by thinking of them in their romantic or sweet loving expressions and deny the signs that demonstrate their other darker side. Such an immature position cannot be maintained as the relationship develops, since the full spectrum of emotions will become apparent and the truth will show itself. Love is a testing ground, a battlefield both inside and out, and is a journey that can lead towards the compassion that can develop in loving with no agenda, no pretense, and for no reason other than love itself. I see that in all my past relationships, and I see that in my marriage currently. I can't keep holding on to that my relationship is all supposed to be feel good and all romantic and it's going to stay that way forever. And in this marriage in particular, I know that whether I succeeded or failed in this, I knew I wanted to do this. This is definitely a relationship that we can grow in and really develop ourselves in and turn into the more mature people that we know ourselves to be. I can definitely see that I can't stay in that shallow level, that shallow emotional level. And I've been working with my emotions for, 7 years or something, but before I met him. But anymore, I can't run away from his scary feelings and I can't run away from my own. And I realize I don't have a lot of ups and downs emotionally during the day by myself, but my mind will make up stories to get me to respond or acknowledge feelings, and it makes up stories from the past. I think this is something this article also talks about. I will share that with you. It's really interesting as an open center. The open solar plexus has awareness potential. It can be wise about feelings that pass through it from the emotional people. The potential is to recognize the depth of truth that comes with the expression of feelings and to be able to discern which feelings are truly important and need to be addressed and which are simply the background dramas that come and go. Having this center open also brings with it a propensity for you to hold on to the feelings that you have difficulty processing. By resisting them, you're holding on to them. When an emotional person has a really good cry, they can release the emotions they need to as new feelings bubble up continually for them. You may hold on to feelings related to romantic moments from past love affairs or from the tenderness or its opposite, which you received from your family and friends. In holding on to such feelings, you provide your mental consciousness with an ongoing source material to torture yourself with, as it will animate the past and make you feel things again in the present repeatedly. If you watch yourself, you can catch your mind stirring you up by thinking about emotional situations at times when you are away from others, times when you're by yourself. After all, the emotional beings are the ones who bring you the loving, sexy, exciting feelings without which life can be rather flat. So I think, there's a couple different things there. Like with the mind, especially when I'm by myself, will make up stories to get me to feel certain ways, which is really quite interesting because otherwise I wouldn't feel a lot of those ways. But I also know because of the conditioning or the not knowing part of how to work with emotional beings, and all I've done my whole life, especially since being a little kid and being one of my parents was an emotional being who was very volatile. He couldn't manage themselves very well, and was very unpredictable emotionally, and experienced a lot more negativity with them than anything. Was really, I avoided a lot. I always tried to avoid that parent. I avoided being home. Everything that I did was to find a way to be independent and not be around an emotional being, because it was very hard to comprehend as a child, and children need more stability. They need maturity brought to them, and stability and things like that, and to be understood as well. So it's not one-sided that, opens need to always understand the fixed. It goes both ways. However, things are how they were, and this is my story. So when I couldn't and I didn't understand what I was experiencing and why this person is constantly freaking out at me, it was literally just all I wanted to do was avoid them, be away from them. And that created a lot of problems for me that now I'm addressing this time in my life, because it doesn't help in developing relationships, and it keeps me a bit isolated. I'm keeping myself isolated in a way because it's harder for me to deal with emotional beings in a way. And I realize a lot of my hyper independence that I've done and my possession around my things, it really has to do with inability to deal with these types of people. I just wanted to be away from them my whole life, and obviously I start to not experience many of the wonderful feelings that come with being around these people and reflecting that back to them. And then, of course, I have to deal with my internal world still, because it's going to keep creating those feelings until I deal with this fear and have strategies and I mature out of it, and it no longer has to keep showing me my weak spot. I have to mature and grow. All right, moving on. Someone who had an open solar plexus probably coined the phrase, can't live with them and can't live without them. I kind of agree. However, by catching yourself reanimating emotions and upsetting yourself, you can cast a light on one of the major sources of your unhappiness. See if you can just let it go. Notice how quickly you can shift from feeling emotional to being able to be completely functional within a few seconds. When a mundane task or non-related person enters your life, have you watched yourself do that? And I noticed I can actually do that. Can I hold it for long periods of time at the moment? No, but I've noticed in situations even as a kid, when someone was having an emotional reaction at me, or say someone wanted to spank me, which was highly inappropriate. Abusing children doesn't make them love you long term. It doesn't make them respect you. It's just a fear fear tactics for short-term control over something you don't like they did. It's a misunderstanding, in my opinion, and that's how it affected me. Is I would have been better if I was treated better. So in this case, I had moments where I could literally let go of the reflection of anger of somebody else, and it literally stopped them in their tracks, because I was no longer resisting them. I was no longer reacting to them. Reactions create more issues, and I realize if I'm picking up something for somebody, my reaction to them can create more problem. My internal reaction, even if I don't have an outward reaction, my internal reaction will still create an issue somewhere along the line. So a lot of like letting it go, and there's a spot in my body that I feel the tension release. Like I'm like, I'm gonna let that go. Whew, my head's clear. Like I'm just back open again. So it can be done, and I think that's part of being an emotional open person. Now think about those who generate emotion. They cannot simply just turn off the feeling tap like you can. Interesting. Indeed, they may do something destructive or not do something that needs to be done simply because they feel a certain way at a specific time. Feelings are not logical. Logic provides us with future planning and direction. The emotion center has no logical conduits going through it, so feelings and the consequences of expressing them are not considered in the moment of their passionate or volcanic outpourings. So my advice to you is to enjoy the positive expressions of feelings by your fixed solar plexus friends, but know that they will go down in their waves as well. Follow your strategy and authority as to whether you meet them in the different stages of their wave, and be aware that if you are consistently avoiding certain issues that they are presenting to you, then you may be avoiding emotional truths that keep you smaller and your relationships less than what is possible. If so, there is an emotional richness to your life that you're missing out on. If you think you are the emotional one, then look deeper. Yes, you are incredibly sensitive to feelings, but the source is not from you. Watch yourself when you spend time alone and compare the self-made scenarios with real-time engagements with the vibrant emotional field created by some of those around you. Be honest with yourself and go deeper into the experiment of what it is to be you in connection with others. Experiment. Try it. Test it. Easy for me to say. 1-3. Generator 1-3. Face up to the truth that you have a propensity to fear the emotions as much as you can love them. You love the good ones, you love the romance, but you fear the negative ones. In facing those fears, you can begin to develop a remarkable clarity and emotional depth that need not be personal, but can be profound and discern great subtleties in what can be felt. I absolutely agree with this. I'm seeing it in my own life within a day of reading this and understanding it. I can start to implement it. I will come back to this over and over. The key is to allow the feelings to move through you, and don't let yourself make decisions based on whatever it is you are amplifying from those who are emotionally defined around you. And I agree with that. That's why one of the things I'm learning is to acknowledge it. I'm like, oh, they were feeling that, and maybe I need to ask them a question. Maybe I need to confirm that. Maybe I just need to basically what people call read the energy or intuit what it meant. And it's kind of like part of sometimes giving the benefit of the doubt, because if you've been around someone long enough, there's a part of your brain that knows a lot of things about them. And that's where that benefit of a doubt comes from. It's not ignorance. It's literally like, oh, I bet you they were doing that because and you listen to the intuitive part of that emotion that you picked up, and it has a whole bunch of data with it. It's really, really interesting, at least my experience I had with that today, just experimenting with it and feeling with it. And it has nothing to do with you at all. It's simply the way the other person was thinking, and it's really neat. It's not personal. Most things never are, actually. It never is, except from yourself. You make everything personal for you. Something else that I could share to read too is just the general information that was given on this report for the Solar Plexus Center. That is also something that comes, that general information comes with that advanced, or the free report, the basic free report that you get. So the Solar Plexus Center, the center of spirit, consciousness, and emotions, Keynotes are nervousness, sensitivity, moods, feelings, passion, sexual and experiential desire. Biological correspondence, lungs, kidneys, pancreas, prostate gland, the nervous system. Population average percentage, 53% fixed, 47% open. So it's fairly balanced going on here. And there's a reason, because these two, open and fixed, balance each other out. You can create a very peaceful world. And a fun one too. Or a very destructive and fearful one. So this information, the solar plexus center dominates the world we live in. It is a center that creates emotions and feelings both in varying degrees of quality and outputs of power, since it is a motor capable of rocking the world with emotional energy. People with this center defined in their chart often feel strongly about something or someone. Everything is colored by how they feel in the moment. It's a little like wearing different colored lenses and glasses. They are always on a roller coaster ride, up in the hopefulness of positive feelings when they are happy and energized in their delight of what's around them, or down as their emotional wave dips into the darker emotions of unhappiness and the heavy negative feelings that flow through them, which often cause them real physical pain and emotional upset. There are different emotional streams that can run through this center. Some of the keynote feelings associated with them are sensitivity and neediness, wanting to find a sense of belonging with others, romance, passion, and extreme emotional peaks in what can be melodramatic expressions, expectation, imagination, desire, crisis, and all the drama that comes from such feelings. The solar plexus center is one of the 3 awareness centers possible for a human being. It gives us not just emotional awareness, but also social awareness. The feelings associated with not having enough resources can lead to severe discontent, and with enough support, even revolution. The power necessary to stand up to unjust oppression is here in this center. So too is the awareness necessary to be sociable with strangers and make new impactful connections with them. The awareness inherent in this center can also be seen through those people with a fixed solar plexus, being able to break through the barriers to intimacy. In feeling differently at different times about the same thing or the same person, they can arrive at deep clarity of emotional awareness that is not possible for someone without the center defined. But even more than that, the center is currently going through a radical transformation that is leading towards what is called spirit awareness. It is predicted that it will be an awareness that blossoms in the future in a melding of consciousness between several beings. It is not in the scope of the secret of the section to explore this, but it's important to know that a process is going on that is expanding consciousness to a new level of awareness. So that was what was in the report, and you can get a free, very detailed free one I found more beneficial than all the other free ones I've gotten and purchased ones that I've gotten. This is the best by far purchased one, and this guy has his own YouTube channel, and he explains things really well. He was one of the people with Ra, so I will leave links in the description for that, and if you have any questions, comment below. I'll do my best to answer them, and if there's any other topics you want me to talk about, I have this report here. I can add in some stuff. So, thanks. Bye.